Easter weekend fun, back on the boat, and a little bit of work on this. This is the starboard bulkhead that's aft, and I should have taken some befores before. This is very much in progress. So here is the cockpit locker. This in that, and this bit here is inside the saloon. This is the aft bulkhead we've got. And this was rotten out, and you can see this here, which is absolutely saturated, was part of this bulkhead, which is absolutely saturated, and you see these holes. So if I hold this up, hold on, I will give you a bit of a demo into the problem I had, or example. So there we are. Now we can see kind of a before. Right, this top hole here was where the heater ducting from the hot air heater, which is in the cockpit locker, had come through, which is fine. And there was another hole down here, which is for that little ducting there, which is the engine bay extraction. No problem at all either. Apart from, they have, as you can see if I offer this up, there we are. The holes are right down at the bottom where the stringers are. So all the water, or any water that pulled around those hoses, and then the bulkhead where they cut the holes in them wasn't treated, so it just got in and rotted the bulkhead. Not too bad, just a fairly small section. I mean, you can see what I've cut out, and that's all good. I have to do a little bit more down at the bottom here. Is still a bit wet. So I will just take that away a bit further, then template up a small infill section which will epoxy in, and that'll be all good. And then we're also clearing out and removing all this old horrible vinyl from inside the lockers, getting ready to paint that, insulate, and then this will all be just painted through. I'm not going to flow coat in here because this area is hardly going to get seen. There is a floor you can see which goes over this, so it's all good, all fine. Once it's all cleaned up and flow coated. So that's a bit of the progress today. Also have done a lot of work on the plumbing. Can't see that because all the stuff, all the area we've cleaned out here to get into these lockers is everywhere else in the boat. But yeah, some plumbing work has been done, which is really good. So now we have running cold water. We don't have hot yet because we have no calorifier, but that's really good progress there as well. So more to follow. Thank you. Well, it's giving up, but I'm not letting it.
The blade. How did you not manage to cut through that?
It's probably a bit floppy on the back.
Yeah, it keeps pushing away.
Yeah. Let's see if I can jiggle it out a bit more. There's also an honest explanation. The hoses are clipped there.
Yeah.
The only thing that's actually strong on this wood.
It's not a flathead though, is it?
It is a flathead.
Oh, it is a flathead, of course. Those hoses are getting replaced anyways, aren't they?
They are.
We've
yeah,
cut
those
them, haven't
were the
we?
anti-siphon hoses for the engine, for the exhaust, which we will replace.
Yeah.
So we keep the anti-siphon loop. The other hose that will get replaced, that is the vent for the fuel tank. Fuel tank's currently empty, but that will be replaced with a new piece. You can see the delamination here, and just the wood that's completely delaminated as well, because it's plywood. It's just made up of these individual sheets, and they're wet. Not as wet as that bit. That's what happens to plywood when it gets saturated. It stops becoming structural. So then the delamination there is a key sign. If you look down there, you can see the delamination. The tabbings come away from the bulkhead. So we'll take this, replace this whole bulkhead section where it's got the natural join. So this is a join between two sheets of wood. So we'll just chase that out, clean it all up, put a new piece in, relaminate it properly, and then job done.
And that one support that went across.
Yeah, I'll redo all of the supports for the floor and the framing as part of it. So they'll all be replaced. They won't be made out of pine softwood as it was.
Unprotected.
Yeah, in here, and you can see down the end of that pine, that darker area there is wet, that lighter area is dry, and that's why it's not a good idea to use household 2x4s on a boat. Who knew? Who knew?
Quite a few years ago.
Yeah, I think everyone knew, but someone fitted it on this boat anyway. Yeah, and it's not an issue in its own right, it's the bad layout of the ducting that caused the problem. If they had been put in properly in the first place, none of this would likely have happened. So one little thing trickles on to everything else, but because the water that was pooling under this ducting was soaking into the wood from the sides, which are unprotected, so the face surfaces were protected, they're painted, there's no problem, but the sides are not protected, so the water's getting in from the side there where these holes were for the engine bay exhaust extraction and from the heater ducting as it came through. If they had been placed up away from the stringers, because the water naturally pulls on the stringers, that's why I created dams, high points on the bulkhead on the other side when I replaced that, so that the water that pulls here runs down and can drain out into the bilge. But this water wasn't able to drain into the bilge, it just pulled there. If they'd put the hose penetrations higher, then water wouldn't have pulled around there. It's a bit of a basic error, really, schoolboy error. But hey ho, it's just something we have to fix. Right, removal.
You get that?
So that's the tabbing has actually bonded reasonably well to the plywood. This is the first layer of plywood, but you can see how dark and wet it is. So the plywood core is just delaminated where it's got wet. But so it doesn't matter how good your fiberglass job is if there's no structure behind it, doesn't make a difference. Alright, got some work to do to get the rest of this out now. Okay, end of the day as we've landed, cleaned up as best I can until I start grinding for the fiberglass, so this will all be cleaned and ground out, obviously, for good bond, and then have templated for the new bulkhead piece, new bulkhead panel, so that will come out of 18mm marine ply, and then yeah, I'll be back to fit that in. Watch this space. It will look nice when it's done. So here we are, following weekend, getting ready for replacing this bulkhead piece there, which is nicely cut and shaped there. That's all good, and there's a little couple of tweaks to do to fit it, but that will all go quite nicely once I get the last little bits. So these bonding lines from the old bulkhead, that's the next job now, is to sand. Well, I'm going to sand and prep the whole area because it's all going to be flow coated or painted, including inside the lockers. So that's what I've been doing this morning, is the last bits of prep. So you can't see it because it's not there, but the steering bar is now out, so the internal steering that we're removing is all come out. That dark space is the cockpit locker, but that's all going to get cleaned and prepped for paint and flow coat. I'm going to flow coat inside the cockpit lockers and then just paint inside the lockers in the cabin, because they don't need to be as hard wearing. I want it waterproof and hard wearing in the cockpit lockers, obviously, but flow coat's expensive, so just normal paint we'll use. And what I have for that is just brush top coat, which is nice, which is a grey, which I'm using below the waterline and in the machinery areas. And then for the paint, the locker paint, I'm using this polyurethane floor paint, which is really nice. It's hard wearing. Downside is it takes a long time to dry off because it's single pack, but if you just paint it and then I leave the boat for a week, come back, it's nice and hard, and it goes over well. So about 2 coats of that, and that's very good. So polyurethane paint is really hard wearing and nice. So the other thing I've been doing is tenting off, or prepping for that. So these dust sheets which have been stuck up, getting ready for a big session of dust making. There will be a lot of dust. You see, I have my sanding tool, so we have the grinder with the backing pad, sander, and then the 2 belt sanders. Got the trusty Makita 30mm one and the small 15mm one as well for getting in the little nooks and crannies. But you know, it makes a mess doing this, so a little bit of dust prep goes a long way. And then my vacuum cleaner will be with me in the hole. I will be wearing, where is it? So I have a Tyvek suit, ear defenders, respirator. I've got the full respirator. I might even wear, I've got a full face mask here. I might even wear that for the work in there. We'll see how I get on. Yeah, it's going to be a couple of hours now of just solid sanding. Okay, many hours of grinding later. I think about 4 hours of grinding in total. This is where we are. So the old foam backing that was on there is gone. It's all cleaned. I've done the best I can in those areas, but where I can't grind out, I've gone over them with a wire brush. So these are just going to get some paint in the lockers in this side anyway. And then that's the new bulkhead, just temporarily fitted, just with a couple of spare bits of wood just to get it into place. That was really easy, a good templating job, so that was an easy fit, and that will be bonded in, and that's where most of the work was on, just removing all the old tabbing where it comes off the wood, because it didn't stick to the wood so well, but it's well stuck to the hull, which is good, I suppose. Right, I'll show you what the inside of the cockpit locker looks like. Bear with as we go out. And there we are. So this is it inside here. So all of this area has been cleaned back and prepped all the way down. I've removed there's a kind of like a half bulkhead or a panel across in front of the water tank here. So that's all been removed, so I can get access to this area, and also so I could remove the steering. But the down the bottom, above that stringer there and above that stringer there, were the holes where the ducting for the heater and the engine bay ventilation went through, and that was causing the problem, because these stringers, if you can see, they taper forward, so any water that comes onto here can run and pull up next to the bulkhead. So I will put little dams in there, little tapers, so that any water where it gets to there will just run off tuk, 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 down into the bilge. Yes, good fun. Right, next job, acetone tabbing. Okay, after a full day of going at it, well, half a day. No, I started about 10 this morning, so did a couple of jobs this morning and then got on with this. We had a bit of rain early this morning, which is why I waited till after that, because I have the cockpit locker open. Anyway, that is the bulkhead repair in. Not finished off. I am a time optimist and I was hoping to be able to get the tabbing done today, but there is no chance. The sun is setting and I've only just got the fillets in. So what you can see in there is filleting compound that just holds the bulkhead in, and then obviously just gives me a nice fillet, a nice radius to tab the matting over, so I don't get any hard points or any corners, hard edges. That's what it had. It didn't have fillets on the previous ones. And then let me show you, I've done both sides, so that's really good. Let me show you what I've done in here. Okay, in this side, and you can see, so here is where it's curing, and there's where it's cured. It's quite cool. But these are, these little dam bits are what I was talking about, mentioning earlier, that when the water now runs down there, it'll lip over and spill down into the bilge rather than just pooling right in the corner. So that will stop the water resting against the bulkhead. When I cover that in matte and resin, that'll all be nice. But yeah, done the same in there, where we have all the fillets done all the way down, all the way to the corner there. So ready to go. Tomorrow we can just give it a quick light sand to knock any sharp little spiky bits off, and then it will be on with tabbing tomorrow morning. Alright, shower, beer, food. Bye. Okay, it's laminating day for the tabbing, and there's an amazing, surprising amount of work that goes into getting stuff ready for this. So I'll just kind of go through my little process, because it's a little bit different than for those that are using epoxy, because I'm using polyester resin. There's an extra step I'm doing to make sure to give the wood the best chance, or give it the best chance of bonding to the wood, because polyester resin is good, it's really easy to work with, but it doesn't have a great secondary bond. Which means that it doesn't bond well to cured or other substrates. It doesn't bond particularly well to wood. So what I use for that is this primer sealer. We've got the Bonder one. Primax is also good. I've used them both. They are very, very good. They really, really improve the bond strength. And for what I'm doing with this, it's absolutely perfect. It will last long enough. I don't need to go then to the expensive epoxy over polyester. Plus, polyester is really easy to work with, because I am working outside. I'm not in a climate controlled environment. I can adjust the amount of catalyst for the temperature to give it a good chance of curing. I know you can do it with fast and slow epoxy hardeners, but that's just another cost, another thing to have. Whereas for me, I just need one catalyst, one hardener. The other advantage if I'm making thickened polyester is I can thicken it up before I add the catalyst, so I can make little batches up as I go. Anyway, that's by the by. So primer for the wood, which is really an important step. So what I will do, if I go down into here, I'm going to do this side first. So I will paint the primer on in the areas that are going to get tabbed on the wood, particularly on the wood to wood bonds. That's really important. And then that will take about 20 minutes to kick off. And then in which time I'll get the batches mixed up. So I will mix up, pre-pour some resin in the cups, ready to go. I've got my I like my long roller handle, because I can get into all the little nooks and crannies easier with the solvent resistant roller on there. It will get a wipe down with acetone first. So primer, acetone, then primer, then resin 20 minutes later. These are my two favourite stippling rollers. Each your mileage will vary, you have your own options. I've got loads, but I kind of go to those two. Pair of scissors in case I need to make any cuts. There's my favourite Seastream SR100 face mask. I love that thing, it fits so well and it has a really good seal. I've had it for years. Then I've got I'm just using chop ceramic mat for this because I bought a load of it a while ago and I want to use it up. Combi mat would be my preferred choice, but honestly I'm just trying to use up this CSM. So I've got my pieces 150, roughly 150 and roughly with 200 mil. I've got them all cut in the lengths I need for this side. There's 4 pieces of each, and then I've got my gloves. So my protection today will be Seastream gloves and the good funky fashionable white suit. So should be able to avoid, well, I will drip some on myself, but at least it means I'll be it means it won't stick to my clothes, just to the suit. Anyway, and then I've got some spare rollers and stirrers, acetone. I use one of these silicone paddle sticks for mixing up the resin. It works really well, and yeah, super quick and easy. And I've got some spare cups if I need them. So I've got my little station set out here because I will be down in there. So all I want to do is pop my head up, mix a new batch or pour a new batch in the tray when I'm ready, and then go down. I don't want to have to climb in and out every time. So that's the plan. I'm going to get on with priming later. Okay, finish all the tabbing, I'm packing up, getting ready to leave now. Good day's work, always takes time, but yeah, there's 2 layers of, can't remember, it's heavyweight by chop strand mat here. So lots of strength structure on this side, and those are those nice little spillovers I talked about before, all bonded over and glassed in. So yeah, that's really good and solid and done. I'll just show you the inside. So this whole area is ready for paint and flow coat now. It's good. I've got to sort out the panel in here, but that won't hold up any progress. Excuse. Turn that noise off. Then in here, this is just the floor panel. Popped it there out the way for the moment because I've been tidying. But single layer of tabbing on this side, and that's because as we go down by the side of the tank, there's not really enough width to, well, not any benefit of doubling up. We're just going to add thickness without any extra overlap. So I used a double on the other side and single on this side. To be honest, it's belt and braces. There's plenty of it on there. I've gone all the way down to overlap the old bulkhead, and I've overlapped on the old bulkhead as well. So those two are well joined together. That won't go anywhere now. Be good for life. And then I've got to pop the new holes in for the heater duct. I've got the new heater duct there, and I'll get that squared away next time I'm up. All right. It is a lot of work to do the tabbing. It's just boat stuff, innit? It takes ages. All right. Well, that's it for. For another thing as well. This is the inside of this is our wet locker area here, and this is the water that comes up for the cockpit shower. So one of the things I did fit as well this weekend is our. Move my tools, I'm taking back. Bullfinch shower fitting for our cockpit shower, which is nice. So that's in a really good place, tucked away behind the companionway hatch door there, and that's all going to get boxed in this area here, so it'll be all enclosed. This whole top area is going to be all enclosed, which is nice. So that's really good because that means that section is done as well, which means I can start to move on to next bits and pieces in the wet locker now. So finishing out, trimming out the back of the wet locker, replacing that hose, replacing that deck fitting and putting in the fuel tank fill hose, getting the ducting in to the bulkhead, move that anode out the way obviously, and then I can put the trunking in and get all the wires and the cable routings done, and I can finish a few things off. Yeah, dust everywhere because of the grinding yesterday. As much as I had those dust curtains up, it is just, it goes everywhere. And I vacuumed, believe it or not. I have hoovered here, it's setting. I've had I've got a air cleaner going all night and all day, just to try and remove some of the dust out of the air, and fighting and losing battles. So I'm going to have another massive vacuum next time I'm here. Hey ho, right, onwards and upwards. That's it for this trip. We will see you next time on the boat. I've got to stop calling it Jost Van Dyke because we're going to rename it. I think the new name is going to be Wanderer. There you go, that's a little tidbit. Anyway, thanks a lot, bye.